Hi, landlords, and welcome. My name is Flavia Berries, and I'm a California attorney, a real estate broker, and also a professional property manager. I'm the founder of Landlord Prep. I'm also the creator of the Landlord Crash Course, as well as the Landlording Essentials webinar, which you are about to register for. All of these are online legal education programs with a lot of practical know-how to help do-it-yourself landlords in California like you manage your own rental properties. So I give you the instruction and also the legal education that you need so you can stay in legal compliance and avoid a lot of common legal nightmares. So how did I get into being a landlording instructor in the first place? Well, over 15 years ago, I jumped into the landlording business out of necessity. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I went to the library and I pulled about 6 or 7 books off the shelf, just trying to figure out what I needed to know and what contract templates I needed for my lease. Some of the books that I pulled off that shelf, they were outdated. They'd been written maybe 20 years ago. Some of them were written for a different state than the one that my property was in, and others were just written like long, boring textbooks, and I couldn't get through them. Since that time, I've actually become a real estate attorney and also a real estate broker, and I now manage not only my own rental properties, but also the properties of other people professionally. I'm now a professional property manager. But you want to know the really funny part about all of this is that I learned more about landlording from actually doing it myself than I ever did in law school or during my broker training. I really think that my practical advice can be more valuable than all of my legal know-how put together. And that is why I have now put together a comprehensive webinar for do-it-yourself landlords like you so that I can share this information, not only the legal information and education, but also all of my practical tips that are really going to help you in your landlording business. But I really think that the biggest factor that motivated me to start teaching landlording was when, as an attorney, I used to volunteer at pro bono legal organizations. These are organizations that provide free or very low cost legal advice and legal services for people with low income. So I saw firsthand how ignorance of landlord tenant law was affecting both tenants and landlords in a very negative way. Unfortunately, these places that I volunteered for, because of very limited resources, they only helped tenants with free legal advice. They just didn't have the resources to also give landlords free legal help. So any landlords that showed up, we had to unfortunately turn them away. So those landlords had fewer help resources than the tenants did. So, and the thinking was, if somebody can afford a real estate property, they probably are in a better position than somebody who's renting, at least economically. But that's the theory. But I know that a lot of landlords, even though they own real estate, it doesn't mean that they are very financially well off and can afford high-priced attorneys. So my goal is to change this dynamic by educating and empowering do-it-yourself landlords at a very low and affordable cost. So I've taught the live version of this continuing ed course numerous times in the community college setting, and I have gotten a great response from all of my students. So now I'm bringing this course online to be able to serve a greater number of homeowners like you who might prefer to take my course on the web from the comfort of your own home or office or wherever you might be, rather than live at a school. So I really hope you join me. I think this course has a lot of benefits that you're going to find are helpful to you. So if you are new to being a landlord, or even if you've been doing it for a number of years, you're going to learn best practices for low-cost ways to advertise your rental. What is the expensive advertising method that no longer works? I'll share that with you. What are the 2 best free ways to advertise your rental? I'll share that with you as well. I'll explain how to write advertising descriptions that won't get you in legal trouble. I mean, do you know the surprising forbidden phrases in real estate advertising that can get you in real hot water legally with the Fair Housing Administration? Well, I'll teach you. I can also teach you how to screen tenant applications the easy way in compliance with some recent changes in the law. I mean, there's a wrong way and a right way to check a tenant's credit, and the wrong way can get you sued or worse. You also probably want to know whether or not you can raise the rent on your existing tenants and what the legal limits for each of these increases might be. And even better, you might want to know the best way to implement a rent increase that won't cause your tenants to just get mad and, leave your rental. I'm going to talk a little bit in this webinar as well about getting the right kind of liability insurance to protect yourself. Did you know that a lawsuit, even if you win, a lawsuit can cost you tens of thousands of dollars to defend, even if you didn't do anything wrong and you ultimately win the lawsuit? You can still be out a lot of legal fees. And that's one of the reasons that insurance is important. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the webinar. I'm also going to teach you a little bit about handling the inspection process at move in and move out, because that's also very important. You want to do that the right way to prevent some huge problems. And this is one of the things that I see a lot of landlords get wrong, and that's why I want to help you do it right. And I'm going to teach much, much more in this packed 6-hour webinar. Yes, you heard that right. It is a 6-hour webinar. I'm going to go into whether or not you have to sit there for the full 6 hours, and I think you'll be happy to know that you don't have to watch it all at once. But there is so much packed in there, and I designed it that way so that even if you're more seasoned in the landlord business and you've been doing this for some years, you'll get some great advice that you can use to maximize profitability and really be in compliance with some important new laws that you should know about. So you will get 6 hours of instruction on this important webinar. It's designed to teach you as much as possible in a limited time. Yes, I wish I had you for 60 hours, but this is a 6-hour webinar. And if you can't make it on the day of the webinar, don't worry. Even though it's a one-day webinar, when you register, you will also be getting access to the recorded replay of the webinar for a full 30 days after the webinar date. So you can watch it either over and over again if you just want to go very deep on the learning, or you can just rewatch any portion that you might have missed on the actual webinar date to catch up and get all of the material. If you're somebody that wants to watch 1 hour a day for 6 days in a row, you can go ahead and schedule your time that way as well. You have the freedom to do that because you'll have access for that full month. So register right now for this critical landlording education before the registration for the webinar closes. Remember, you can always watch it later, but you need to register right now before the webinar date. The low-cost registration fee reserves your seat at the webinar, which you can watch from any computer, and most mobile devices will let you watch it as well. So you may actually end up watching this at a coffee shop, on your mobile phone, or you can watch it from the comfort of your home. Or again, remember, you're going to have it for 30 days. You'll have the full access replay, so you can watch it over and over or chunk it up in any way that fits your schedule. So plus, I'm going to include an extra bonus. So you won't only get the 6 hours of education, you are also going to receive my best templates that I have designed for your rental application and the lease contract, because I find that these two documents are the most problematic for do-it-yourself landlords. You want to have a rental application where potential tenants can fill it out. You want to make sure that that application is in compliance with law and that you're not asking for information that is illegal to ask for. This again is a document that can get you in some hot water if it's not compliant with landlord tenant law the way it's written in California. You also want to have a lease contract that has all of the required paragraphs. A lot of these leases that you can pull off of Google or find in a lot of these generally written kind of national law real estate books, it's an okay lease, but it's missing a lot of what California requires. And sometimes the leases are also outdated in some of these other sources, and you want to make sure that they're current with best practices as they are today, and that they have everything that's required in them and are just written in a way that's going to be easy for you to fill out and use as well. So you'll get access as a bonus just for watching the webinar, these two templates that you can download as PDFs. You can either just print it blank and fill it out with ink, with a pen, or you can fill it out right on your computer by typing in the fields and then print it out. So they're very easy to use, and they will let you be in legal compliance on those two important documents. So please reserve your seat today before this registration closes. And remember that whatever stage of landlording you are currently in, this program will give you answers to some truly burning questions and is going to provide you with the critical guidance that you need for your thriving real estate rental business. Now, here are just some more of the benefits that you're going to expect and you're going to find in this webinar. You're going to sleep better at night after watching this because you're going to know how to find better tenants and stay compliant with important laws, and this is going to help you relieve that stress that a lot of do-it-yourself landlords feel. You're also going to utilize best practices for all of your inspections and your monthly rental check collection. I'm going to teach you something that is just a godsend, and you will love me for it because it has changed the way that I do my property management business, and it makes rent collection so much easier than the old-fashioned methods. You're also going to learn ways to leverage your time with very effective systems that are going to save you lots of hours each month. So hopefully, saving that time is going to be valuable to you and a real benefit. You're also going to save money and generally avoid common legal problems. Now, I see these common legal problems all the time because when I would work at these landlord tenant clinics, I would have these problems walk in the door, and they are easily avoidable, and it was just always such a shame to see people struggling with things that could have been so easily avoided. So you're not alone. There is an entire community of do-it-yourself landlords just like you. I want you to join us on the journey to better landlording, and I'm going to help you overcome the challenges that you and all of these other do-it-yourself landlords face, day after day. The first challenge, you maybe don't trust your template lease. Maybe it's something you pulled off of the internet. Maybe it's out of an outdated reference book. I'm going to help you with that. You might fear picking a bad tenant. That's a pretty common fear, and it's actually something that a lot of landlords do. They pick bad tenants. I'm going to help you through that. I'm going to give you strategies to really screen tenants the right and legal way so that you can get the best people in your property. You're worried maybe that you did something wrong that's going to come back to bite you. A lot of people have that stress. I'm going to help you avoid that stress. And you might be worried about getting sued or ending up in eviction court. And really the best way to not get sued and to stay out of eviction court is to do things right from the first instance and to have the right tools on hand. One of the challenges might be that you are not even an enthusiastic landlord. You might be what I call a reluctant or accidental landlord. And that's someone who didn't plan on becoming a landlord, but somehow you ended up with an extra property that you now need to rent out to make ends meet. And so for those reluctant and accidental landlords, you really just want to have the shortest path to doing things right. Now, another challenge for you might be that going into the rental business can just generally be really scary. It's intimidating, especially when you're not sure you're doing everything right. And I know that because I have been there myself. Now, remember, I started landlording long before I was in law school, long before I had a broker's license, long before I was a professional property manager. And especially those early years, it could be really scary for me when I had a tenant call me up and ask me something like, hey, can I have, my service squirrel? I have a pet squirrel that helps me with my emotional disability, so I think I'm allowed to have it in your property. Or I had somebody call me up and say, I'm gonna move out and break my lease. Will you let me break my lease? And I'd have to figure out what that meant and whether they could do it and what my recourse was if they did. And it had to, document all of that if I did want to release them from their lease. So remember, just reserve your seat today while it's fresh on your mind before registration for this webinar closes. I hope this is truly a no-brainer for you and that you register for this webinar right now to get access to the 6-hour webinar course, but also the 30 days of access to the recorded replay. And then as a special bonus, you're also going to get the rental application and the lease contract templates. Those are two very important documents, and I want you to have those. So please register today, reserve your seat before registration closes, because it is truly my privilege to share what I know about landlording with you, and I cannot wait to teach you how to be an even better and more effective landlord. I honor you for your desire to learn more and be better, and I hope to see you very soon at the webinar, so register today.